Hey there everybody, Travis Bowman here. I'm a fingerstyle guitar player and retro video game nerd. I am a retro video gaming YouTuber that does guitar stuff as well. I'm a full-time guitar teacher and I do YouTube on the side. I've been monetized for a little over a couple years now, and I consider this to be a full-time thing even though I'm not doing it full-time. As of the making of this video, I almost have 7,000 subscribers. I've been really taking this seriously since 2021, and I've had the opportunity of working with a bunch of different people, including Stone Age Gamer and Nixie Controllers, Retro Fighters, just to name a few, and it's been a very pleasant experience. So I say all that to tell you that I just got scammed big time, like really, really bad scammed. Now, I know you're watching this and probably thinking, oh man, this dude's stupid. He got scammed. He should have known better. How does anybody get scammed in this day and age? Hold up, dude. Watch the video and listen to the story. And then you tell me in the comment section whether or not this may or may not have happened to you, because this is a freaking doozy, my friend. So like I just said, I've been approached by a lot of companies over the years. You know, I'm not a big-time YouTuber by any means, but I put a lot of work into my content and I really am passionate about it. And I think, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I think that it kind of shows a little bit. You know, I've been working very, very hard on this and I take it very seriously. I got approached by a specific company, and I'll go ahead and say the name. That company is Razer. You know, Razer. The keyboard and mouse company, you know, the really reputable one that everybody really likes. They make really good keyboards and computer mice and even laptops and gaming chairs and stuff like that. I was approached by someone at Razer, at least that's what I thought, and they reached out to me via email and they were asking me about potentially collaborating with a financial element. AKA translation, we want to do stuff with you on your YouTube channel and pay you for it. This is not a particularly rare thing, but it would have been for me because, you know, like I said, I've worked with a lot of really cool companies on YouTube, but I've never worked with somebody as big as Razer. Now, initially, I did have my skepticism because Razer is a pretty big company and I'm a small YouTuber, so why in the hell would they be interested in me? Companies do this sometimes. Sometimes they grab the big guys and then they go down and grab some of the smaller fish just to kind of have an ecosystem of their products in every different avenue. It's not a particularly strange thing, and I believe them. I believe that that's what was happening. And I know you're thinking, like, how did you get scammed by this dude? Like, you should have known better. You're probably right, but before we do that, before we get into that, I just want you guys to realize how convincing this was. It's actually really freaking scary, man. So their initial email went to my inbox, not my spam folder, and they reached out, and long story short, it was about a couple of weeks worth of correspondence. It wasn't just a one and done, now you're scammed and screwed out of all your stuff. They reached out to me asking me if I was interested, first of all. And of course I was, you know, a little skeptical there. But then they sent me to this website to sign up for the affiliate program. And that's the official Razer website, the Razer affiliate thing. So if you're unaware of what all that means, affiliate stuff is just like, hey, you sign up, you're a content creator, YouTuber, what have you. Sign up with our website, our affiliate website, and we'll give you specific links to where if you sell our stuff for us, if somebody sees your video and clicks on this link with your name attached to it, we'll give you a commission on stuff that's been sold, which is not a strange thing. A lot of people do that. You can even do that with Amazon. I know a lot of people that do that. This email that they sent me was very convincing. And their email address was contact@razorpromo.com, which could go either way. It convinced me that this was a legitimate thing, but obviously it turned out to be not that case. They never asked me for any personal information. They didn't ask me for a shipping address. They didn't ask me to click any suspicious links or anything like that. All they sent me was a Dropbox link. And in this email, it was extremely on par with what you would expect from a company that's wanting to work with a content creator. You know, they even went so far as to detailing what they expected from me. You know, we're going to send you a Razer promo package with a few of our premium products, your headsets, your computer mice, your keyboards, you know, stuff like that. And we want you to review this on your YouTube channel. this made sense to me, because I've done reviews like this before in the past, and I really enjoy doing that sort of thing. And it didn't seem that far-fetched at the time. I was really stoked and surprised that somebody like Razer would reach out to somebody like me and want to work with me. But I've been doing a lot of retro video game stuff, and some of those videos have been taking off lately. So I thought, hey, maybe somebody saw one of my videos that took off, and they just want to work with me. That's a really cool thing. Until it wasn't. So in this email, we've got a very specific description of what they want from me. We want you to do an entire video on these Razer products that we're going to send you in the mail. And we want to know how much you want as payment for all this stuff. And in addition to that, we want you to do another video completely unrelated to Razer and have a 30 to 60 second slot at the beginning of the video where you are kind of promoting Razer. All legitimate sounding stuff. This is kind of how this goes. If you're unfamiliar with this, if you're making content and you have somebody that wants to reach out to you to do a promotional thing, this is exactly what it's sounding like, So the Dropbox link. I click on that, and it is a WinRAR compressed folder. So I extracted all that stuff out of there. There was a folder inside of there that had 3 or 4 different Razer promotional videos about their headsets and their keyboards. And there was even one about a laptop. I was like freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to send me a laptop to do a review on? That's kind of crazy. But before I could even process any of that stuff, I looked at the PDF file that they had in there. And it said Razer, and it had some sort of title about, terms and conditions, that sort of thing, contracts. That's a very specific thing that happens where you have to, agree to their terms before they are going to send you some free stuff. So naturally, I want to see what those terms and conditions are, and I opened the PDF. But it turns out that it was not a PDF at all, but it was an EXE, executable file, which is bad. Executables from strange people are not a good thing. I know you're probably still thinking, you dumbass, how did you not know it was a PDF? Dude, it looked exactly like a PDF. It had the teeny tiny logo that was a PDF. I had no reason to believe that it wasn't. And truth be told, when I was looking at this, I was in the middle of something. I only had a specific amount of time. We're talking minutes before I had prior obligations. And I wanted to know what those terms and conditions were so I could respond to them. That's kind of how I am. I want to respond as fast as I can because being punctual is a very important thing to me. And I wanted to respond as quickly as I could to not only get the ball rolling with this company, but also convey my excitement to work with them. So, of course, I opened the PDF, but what I did not see is a .dll file extension that went along with that PDF. And, of course, when you click on that PDF, it doesn't open because it's not a real PDF, and you just sit there like, what's going on? Why is this not working? Not long after that, I checked my Google account, which is associated with my YouTube account. YouTube and Google are pretty much the same entity these days. They're both the same company. I believe Google owns YouTube. They bought them a long time ago. But all of a sudden, I couldn't get into my stuff, my Google account. It's crazy once you are panicking, and losing something that you've just gotten so used to. It's a really strange feeling because I've had this Google account for a long, long time, and all of a sudden, I couldn't get into it. And it's amazing what you miss, the little things that you take for granted, like the Google Play Store. You can't do that if you don't have a Google account that's signed in. You can't access your email, can't access YouTube. They will not let you get on your phone on YouTube unless you have like an account signed in and everything. So all that stuff was going on. And I'm a guitar teacher during the day. That's how I pay all my bills and stuff. And I do YouTube on the side that occasionally, will help with some bills. But I started freaking out because I was at work preparing for another guitar lesson. That's why I was trying to get this done as quickly as I could. And I panicked and I was like, dude, I got to go home because they're going to get into my bank account information. Google, you can do all sorts of things with that name, Google. You can have your cards saved. You can have your password saved. And all of this is supposed to be protected by Google's multi-factor authentication. I learned much later from a gentleman in my Discord who actually does computer stuff for a living that they did this thing called session jacking. So apparently there's a thing called session tokens, meaning that you are signed into a bunch of stuff. If you have a Google account, you've got your Facebook and your Instagram and your Twitter and your YouTube and probably a bunch of other stuff that you might not even realize that you are just automatically signed into, especially if your password is the same for all of those things. What this hacker did was use that PDF or that executable disguised as a PDF to sign in to my computer, my work computer, remotely, and then take those session tokens. He didn't even need my password, but he got my password out of it and then signed in and signed me out of everything. And I mean everything. YouTube. I mean, he was trying to get into everything that he possibly could, but I panicked, I freaked out, and I was like, I got to get home right now. So I canceled all my lessons for the remainder of the day, and then I went home. First thing I did was call my bank, and then I got on my computer, and then I changed my password for everything. Even things that I didn't even use. I still got in and signed in and changed my password. Luckily, they were never able to get into my bank account, which is so nice. So after all that was said and done, and I changed all my passwords, and I did literally everything that I could at that point, calling my bank, say, hey, there's a situation going on where my bank account might have been compromised. Got into my bank account's website and changed my password, all that stuff too. So now we're at the point of there's not much you can do, you know what I mean? Because this person has basically stolen a part of your identity with that Google account. And as far as Google is concerned, that person is you. Because they have everything. They have access to everything. They hold all the keys. They hold all the cards. You're screwed at that point, and it's so scary, man. So what do I do next? Well, my first intuition was to contact Google and let them know what was going on. But I did not realize this until I was in the thick of it. You can't really call Google. You can't really do that. You can't. There's no customer service number, so no tech support that you can call. That's really strange to me, considering that Google is one of the biggest, multi-billion-dollar industries out there. You would think that they would have some sort of customer service, but they actually don't. Maybe it's just me being naive. I mean, they are a huge everybody uses Google, Everybody uses, in every country in the world that has access to the internet, Google is being used. So I can kind of understand why they wouldn't have, a phone line, because everybody would be calling all the time. You'd have to hire a gigantic amount of people to answer those phone calls. So I could kind of see that. But at the time, I was really not happy about that because I was freaking out. I was about to lose everything, not just my YouTube channel, but potentially, everything that I had used. And we're talking big stuff. Obviously, YouTube, I put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's very important to me. But also the little things, in my bedroom, I have a TV mounted on the wall. I don't really use it that often, but sometimes when I lay down in bed, winding down, about to go to sleep, I like to put a show on or something like that, or a movie or something like that. And guess what I have connected to that television? Google Chromecast. You can't sign into it if somebody stole your stuff. So it was useless, you know what I mean? And, it's just little things like that that was just really depressing, Obviously it's not the end of the world. Oh no, I can't watch TV for a while. But still, it's just little things like that, mental things like that that'll screw with you. After not being able to get in contact with Google directly, I hit up a buddy of mine named Adam Koralik, a YouTuber that I admire. We hung out one time. He came down to my house and we did some video game hunting together. He's been doing YouTube a lot longer than I have. This happened to him at some point too. Now there's a local YouTuber here in my neck of the woods in Arkansas named Retro Rick, and this has also happened to him before. So I got reached out to by a buddy of mine who owns a video game store locally. And he said, hey, Retro Rick had this happen to him too, so let me hook you up with a guy that works at Google that can possibly help you out with this. And sure enough, he did. I started talking to this guy, and he put me in the right spot. He sent me in the right direction. Now, he doesn't deal with this stuff directly, but he basically kind of forwarded my case to the department that does. And wouldn't you believe it, it was just over 24 hours after the incident occurred that I got all my stuff back. I got, I had to fill out a form, had to do a little bit of correspondence back and forth with the guys at Google, but I've got all my stuff back. I've got access to my Google account, and of course I've got access to my YouTube account as well, which is really amazing, man, because I thought this stuff was going to be gone forever. It could have gone either way. It really could have gone either way. They could have told me, sorry, dude, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have given this person access to your stuff like that. And honestly, they would have been right. I should not have done that. That was a stupid mistake on my part. But like I said, man, it was really convincing. It was really convincing, and I thought it was a wonderful opportunity that I wanted to be a part of, so I jumped on it. And I should have asked more questions. I should have been more thorough, and I should have taken the time to pause and think about things before I just go ahead and start left-clicking a bunch of random stuff from a stranger. I will say this, based on experience, they seem to be more prone to helping you if you are a YouTube partner, aka your channel is monetized. And my channel is monetized. I am technically a YouTube partner. If you are not a YouTube partner, get on Twitter. Team YouTube is who you want to tag and blow up and try to get them to help you. But the crazy thing that you have to be careful of is in times of crisis, that's the perfect time for you to be scammed. And on Twitter, I saw that. I was tagging Team YouTube, and there were these people on there that were like camping Team YouTube and trying to grab people and pick them out and say, hey, you need to follow this guy or you need to message this guy. And it was somebody like, Randy Cyber or something like that. Some crazy stuff. Like, that's the account name. You should reach out to this guy. He can help you get your stuff back. Like, absolutely not, dude. That is such a scam. It's crazy how many times I could have potentially gotten scammed again while I'm trying to fix my problem and just get my stuff back, man. It was really, really scary. It was very, very scary. So number one thing, contact Team YouTube. There is an email where you can email Google for tech support and stuff like that too. But at the end of the day, it really helps for a YouTube partner. But now let's talk about what we can do to prevent this stuff. Don't be stupid like me and always assume that the person that you are emailing, especially if it shows up in your spam folder, just assume that everyone is out to get you. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in right now, my friend. Everybody's out to get you. Everybody's out to screw you over if they can. And maybe, just maybe, some of those people are legit. But you have to get them to prove who they are. And a good first start would be if they have a name. That's one thing that I did not put together at the time because I was kind of scatterbrained and I wasn't, thinking as clearly as I probably should have. These people at Razer did not have a name. It wasn't, like Sarah, John, Michael, anything like that. Best regard, warm regards, thank you. I'm Michael at Razer. They didn't ever present themselves with a name. But, I say that, and when I was getting help from Google, they didn't have a name either. They just said the YouTube team or something like that. I never spoke to a person that has a legitimate first name that I could call them on. It was really strange, but that's a good sign if they actually have a name, but it's not always a surefire thing that you're talking to a real person. I guess probably the safest option to do is don't open anything if you are unsure of who it came from. And always run a virus scan on things that you get before you even touch them. Stuff like that will go a long way. Be curious to know in the comments section, have you ever been scammed like this before? And what do you think about this specific scam? But for the most part, everybody else that I've talked to or put on my social media stuff has been like, I just can't believe that was such an intricate scam. Usually they're not that savvy with stuff, but they sure got me, man. That was very, very sneaky. I feel so terrible about it. I feel really bad, because I fell for something like that. I thought I was smarter than that, but like I said, man, I wasn't thinking clearly. It was a stupid mistake, and I should have been more cautious and more suspicious, but I just didn't. I wanted to check it out at that particular time, and I shouldn't have. I should have waited until I had a more clear head with a more clear schedule to really kind of put things into perspective. I really appreciate you guys subscribing and for sticking with me. Probably most of you didn't even know that my channel was down. It was completely gone for about 24 hours. It was gone, but luckily it wasn't like a week-long thing or a month-long thing. I'm really looking forward to getting back into more videos. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys at the next video. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.